numbers come out, okay? Numbers come out that Biden's presidency poll, NBC, standing hits new lows amid Israel-Hamas war. And this isn't a Fox News story. This isn't a Breitbart story. This is an NBC story. President Biden's approval rating has hit a new low of 40% with strong disapproval of his foreign policy and handling of the Israel-Hamas, according to NBC polls. A significant drop, which, Rob, if you don't mind just playing the clip. Play the clip of what they were saying, the one, right there, the one you just showed in a picture, right there.
Is this the Steve
Just watch this one here. Just watch their reaction to it. This is Meet the Press. Go for it.
Here it is. Wow. Donald Trump, we have at 46%. Biden, 44%.
And this is significant because this is the first time in the history of our poll that former President Trump beats President Biden, still within the margin of error, but still significant.
Yeah, in 2019, 2020, when Trump was president, he trailed all of them. This year, he's trailed all of them in our poll. First time in more than a dozen polls we've seen a result like this. Some of the other ingredients that go into that, Biden has long had an advantage over Trump on likability. Look, at the start of this year, 39% said they had a positive view of Biden, barely 30% of Trump. We've seen consistently a gap like this. Now the gap is gone. 36 positive on both, and actually Biden 1 point more negative than Trump. That's been a significant advantage for Biden. Our poll says that advantage, at least for now, may be gone. And we talked about younger voters on foreign policy, and it's true on a host of other topics. Disaffected with Joe Biden. We have 46% for Trump, 42% for Biden among the youngest voters. The youngest voters in the 2020 election were Biden plus 26. This could be a massive sea change.
Did you hear what he just said?
And if you take a look here, too, everybody sort of says.
Go back to what he said right there. Go back 10 seconds, Rob, if you can, right there. Okay, go a little bit back 3 more seconds. Right, yeah, go for it. Play this. Listen to this, folks.
The youngest voters in the 2020 election were Biden plus 26. This could be a massive sea change.
Pause it right there. And so plus 26 during the election with younger voters. It's flipped 30%, because now Trump is plus 4 on young voters, and it used to be Biden plus 26. Keep playing it.
If you take a look here, too, everybody sort of says, hey, I'm not too nuts about the possibility of this matchup, so we said, let's measure this one way, and here's how we did it. Yeah. Biden against an unnamed Republican. This is just a referendum on Biden, basically. Right. And look at this. Yeah. He goes from being in a dogfight with Trump to being double digits behind, but then flip it around. Trump against an unnamed Democrat. Trump goes from leading against Biden to being down by 6 points against the Democrat.
Just a fascinating look at the state of the race with just a little under a year to go. Steve Kornacki, great stuff. Thank you.
Great stuff,
and Pat, you know
first of all, they pretend that the New York Times Siena College poll 10 days ago didn't show the exact same thing. They pretend that the Bloomberg Morning Consult poll in the swing states didn't show the same thing. Oh, this is shocking news. This is not shocking news. This is the trend. What's significant is that NBC is now saying it because that means Barack Obama has decided that Joe must go. Professional Democrats realize that Joe is not up to another campaign. They cringe at the idea of an Obama-Trump debate. That blows their mind.
Obama-Trump debate?
Pardon me, I misspoke. A Biden-Trump debate. Pardon me. Thank you.
No problem.
Joe doesn't want to go. First of all, Joe doesn't want to lose the legal authority to pardon himself and his brother and his son and other members of his family. Jill certainly doesn't want to go. It's not coincidental to me that on the day Barack Obama props Biden up on X, David Axelrod, his right-hand man, is out saying, if we nominate Biden, we're going to lose. So I think there's an internecine push going on in the Democratic Party as there's a growing realization that between the impact of his domestic policies, his inability to perform as a candidate, the mixed messaging on the Middle East where they're trying to please everybody and therefore they please nobody, and the growing scandals surrounding corruption in the Biden family adds up to Joe not being able to make it again. And therefore, I think they're going to try to push him out.
Who's going to make that decision to say, President Biden, thank you for your service. Please step aside. How does the inner workings, the inner plumbing of the DNC actually work? Who's making that decision?
The most influential Democrat in the country today is Barack Obama. There is no question about that. And these affiliated news outlets respond very much to him. He can, and the way their convention is set up is very different than the Republican convention. So you can dump a nominee because of the superdelegates far more easily. So the fact that the filing deadlines have already passed in the Democratic primary and caucus schedule for New Hampshire. New Hampshire and Iowa have been neutered. They've taken away their delegates to make South Carolina the first contest, a state with an absolute majority of African American voters in their primary. The convention is where? Chicago, the Obama's hometown. I have predicted for some time that Michelle Obama is the most likely Democratic nominee for the simple reason.
More than Newsom?
Here's why, quite simply. You have you have a woman of color who's the vice president. She's next in line. How do you rationalize passing her by? If Joe doesn't run, how can you get away with passing her by?
You got to pull the race card. You have to do it.
Of course.
Identity politics.
So you replace a woman of color with a far more popular.
So you're gonna have two women running the country?
No,
I'm out.
No, not necessarily.
Sorry.
Stupid.
But I don't think that they can. I mean, you can't just bypass Kamala Harris. Despite the fact that she doesn't have dementia, but she makes less sense than you.
But how do they convince? Like, what does he say? After much consideration with my family, I've realized that during these difficult times, I'm just
he can certainly
demented. Like, how does it work?
His health will not just won't allow it. His health won't allow him. He doesn't look well.
So what everyone's been saying is basically
and the document. I mean, and you said this, Raj, on the Unusual Suspects, that the document thing is still kind of lingering. They can always go to that. Here's a telltale sign that they're in trouble when you have people with Trump derangement syndrome, like Michael Rappaport losing his mind, and Cardi B. Do you understand? Cardi B can't even speak English. She's going live with all her fans. Remember, she was interviewing Trump, and she's like, "I like your politics."
No, interviewing Biden.
Interviewing Biden back in the day. They interviewed her twice, and now it's bad, Pat. When people like her are starting to turn, 100% Joe Biden. You already nailed it. There's no way he's running.
Let's see what Cardi has to say.
This is Cardi B.
The political punditry of Cardi B.
She knows what she's talking about.
The context for this clip is that there's $100 million in cuts to social services and other programs in New York, and that's why she is against Biden.
She's getting involved.
Yeah, before we play this, the context was Eric Adams, mayor of New York, said, "I'm having so much trouble and so much cost with all this immigration that's landing on here. I need the federal government to help, and if I don't get the federal government to help, I am going to lay off these people, cut this, cut this, cut this." So Eric Adams was trying to blackmail the federal government into sending taxpayer money to help him, and this is the response from a citizen.
And before he played, and it was Tom. He was going to get rid of cops and get rid of $1 billion for education.
Yep, that was that whole basket of threat.
Yep.
Go forward, Rob.
That's what I'm telling y'all. I'm not this year. Don't fucking ask me. I don't give a fuck the resume that they send. I don't give a fuck. I'm not endorsing no fucking presidents no more. Because how is there a $100 million budget cut in New York City for
She's trying to read.
Fucking schools, library, police safety, and sanitation. Yeah, Joe Biden's talking about, like, yeah, we could fund two wars. We could fund two wars. Motherfuckers talking about we don't got it, but we got it. Like, we're the greatest nation. No, the fuck we're not. We're going through some shit right now.
Wow.
Like, say it.
Really, you finally woke up.
She's a non-interventionist.
She's the singer that's saying WAP, right?
Yeah, her WAP is about to get dried up right now because guess what? There goes the country that you
worst ass president. What it's doing.
I got that wet ass president.
Let's see what Rappaport said. Go ahead.
Look at this freaking psycho.
It's down to pig dick Donald Trump and smoking Joe Biden. I'm sorry. I am sorry. Voting for pig dick Donald Trump is on the table. I'm sorry. I'm fucking I'll still call him slob dick Donald Trump.
What a loser.
Pig dick Donald Trump and all that.
Trump derangement syndrome.
Big time.
But we need to get this whole fucking situation under control.
But guess what? Too late. And this, Pat, and this is what drives me crazy. We told you like that. This is what Trump derangement syndrome does, where the personality. You didn't like the coddling and the rubbing of your head while you were getting screwed over. Now I'm happy to see this. Right?
Hang on, listen to what he says there. At the very end, what does he say? We have to get control. Listen to what Roger was just saying, and you can see the plan inside. The conventions are very different. Hillary tried to game the superdelegates as part of her strategy. It wasn't a natural primary. Remember how she looked so calm, cool, and collected, not worry about polling and things they were doing as candidate? Junior senator from Illinois, Barack Obama, who had done a great speech at the previous DNC, suddenly is gaining momentum. You saw that's how it works. That's where it's coming from. Roger, I'm with you. I think what's going to happen, we're going to get to the convention. Somebody's going to say, Joe, the superdelegates are moving the other way. You're going to get the pardon. You got to pardon your son. You got to get this stuff out of the way. That's going to be messy for us, and we're done. I believe it happens with the superdelegate manipulation at the convention.
Bingo. But Gavin Newsom, who's very, I think, effectively advertising his availability. You cannot replace the woman vice president of color with a white male. You just can't do that. So he gets to be vice president on Michelle
Why
Obama's
not,
ticket.
though?
Why not? What do you mean?
Because the dynamics of their party will not allow it.
Who gives a shit if you're going to lose?
The most woke, you think that this woke ass left is going to let, because you know what they're going to say? You let a white man take over?
Yeah.
Are you crazy?
Because he's more capable.
No, Adam, their left is going nuts.
Donna Brazile goes, I'm with Roger. Donna Brazile and others go nuclear if you try to do that.
Yeah, well, she's the one, yeah.
They do.
Here's what's going to happen. I mean, the guy, Milley, if you read what he said if you're on the left and you molest another journalist, as long as you support pro-abortion, they'll hide it.
Yep.
If you're this and you do that, as long as you support their Green Deal, they'll hide it. But God forbid if you're on the opposite side, they want to kill you. They will destroy you, right? Okay. Andrew Cuomo is by far one of the best case studies. COVID starts. First 6 months, this guy would have been a better president than Donald Trump. He's this, he's that, he's this.
Flag carrier.
And then you look at Andrew, and you see somebody that's probably not going to be a yes man to Schumer, to Nancy, to Obama, to any of these guys. And then all of a sudden, like, wait a minute, I'm convinced he wasn't listening to what he was doing and what they were asking him to do. They said, okay, you want to do this? Do you forget what we have on you? We will destroy your life. And guess what they did?
They did.
They did. Not the right. The left, did it to themselves.
They eat their own.
So guess what's going to happen? They have a book the size of a Bible with enough ways to destroy Biden. Ugh. That one's going to be an easy phone call to make. But they don't want to get to that point. They want it to be a nice, friendly one to get to Biden. And they have one as well with Kamala that they can destroy her as well. And that one's going to be a little bit complicated because I think she'll fight it. I think she'll fight it a little bit like Andrew Cuomo would. When they try to do that with her, eventually she's going to have to come out. Then at that point, they'll pick whoever it's going to be. But by the way, it's the DNC is when? It's August of next year in Chicago.
Correct.
The RNC is July of next year. I want to say in Milwaukee, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah. So I know the next debate coming up December 6th is in Bama, but they're going to do Milwaukee as the RNC. They don't want to have a lot of time left, okay? Mm-hmm. They don't have a lot of time left. If they're going to make their moves, they got to make their moves fairly quickly to get that guy out. And when I say guy, I mean Biden. I think the hard one's going to be Kamala.
Well, first of all, they'll be looking at the polling between the two conventions. Trump will get a bounce out of his convention. That'll scare the crap out of them even more. Secondarily, Kamala's not that difficult to solve. You want to be on the U.S. Supreme Court? Good. All you got to do is step aside. We win the election. We win the Senate. You are the Attorney General of California. You can be on the Supreme Court. They buy her out. And she goes quietly. That's my guess.
Wow. I don't know if she's going to.
It's going to be the easiest campaign for the right to run with. Oh. Easiest campaign. They say they for women. They told her to sit in the back of the bus.
Yeah.
They say they're for blacks. They told her to do this.
Well, yep.
All talk, no action. Yep. Don't trust the Democrats. Yep. They only want your vote, but once you vote for them, they won't do what they say they'll do for you.
And let's face it, though, Joe keeps making this easy for them by being Joe. I mean, running from the turkey pardon, like because I think he crapped his pants.
He definitely did.
To me. Yeah, it looked like.
Yeah,
sure looked
he had
like
the crap.
Not knowing where to put the wreath at the tomb of the soldier. I mean, the more this guy is in public, the more dysfunctional he appears. That just fuels this.
What's this,
move.
Rob?
He's at the White House, on the White House lawn, and I guess the turkey just came out.
This is a 100-year tradition. The president pardons one
and he
turkey.
has to take a poop. This is, I got to go take a poop.
Go ahead.
Watch this. Hey, look at that. You guys, I got to just no, like, how embarrassing is this guy? Look, they're not even done coming out yet. Look at this. He's gone.
When did this happen?
Yesterday. He just was like, I got to go take a crap. He left everybody on the lawn.
I don't know about all that.
What do you mean? He did.
Did they leave
I'm
the
just
mic
saying
on?
that there's a million other clips we could play that are way worse than that.
No,
But I'll tell you
But
what.
there's one every day. That's the point.
Yeah, no doubt. But if we can go to that general election stat that Pat kicked us off with, that's scary. I agree. But that's not the scariest stat that we've seen in the last week or so. So what was that, 46, 44? No, not that one, the initial one. The scariest thing, what Roger alluded to initially, is the battleground states and the swing states. There's 5 states that dictate basically what's going to happen this election. Roger knows this better than anybody. We know that California and New York is voting blue. We know that Alabama and Tennessee are voting red. That's not even a question. 46, 44. We know that the election's going to come down to it's too close to call. We already seen this a million times. Comes down to 5 states. And these are the polls. This is New York Times and Siena College, not exactly right-wing.
Credible.
Exactly.
Credible methodology.
Trump versus Biden, Nevada, swing state. Trump's up 10. 10. Georgia up 6. Arizona up 5. Michigan up 5. Pennsylvania up 4. Those are the states you got to pay attention to. And if Trump's in all big in those 5 states, this thing's done.
But Roger, what do you think? Okay, do you think what's happening in New York is enough to stick? Because the left is always up to something, Roger. Like, we're not stupid. I know you get it. We spoke about this the other day. What they have on Trump enough to make him not run?
There's no circumstance whatsoever under which he does not run. None. If he said this, if he has to run from a prison cell, he will. As long as he's not convicted of a crime that makes him ineligible to be on the ballot or ineligible to be president. If they martyr him, they might even make him stronger. That has certainly been, it's counterintuitive, but that's what's happened so far. These prosecutions of him have turbocharged his campaign, and I think that trend will continue.
Roger, what's your relationship with Trump at this point? I know you've been a surrogate, you've been an advocate.
It's very good. I saw him 2 Fridays ago. Talked to him night before last.
You guys have known each other how long?
45 years.
Wow. And what's his just overall, tenure? How's he doing?
He's surprisingly confident. I mean, this guy has got ice water in his veins. I mean, I worked for Nixon. I worked for Dole. They're very, very tough guys. Trump is the toughest guy I've ever met. I mean, he really just lets it roll down his back. I mean, under the kind of pressure that he's in, he's resolute, he's determined. He is a little angry, but Maggie Haberman's right about that. But I think he has every right to be angry. But he's not unhinged. He's not hysterical. He's not depressed. He's really in a surprisingly good mood. And he's absolutely convinced that he will win. He's absolutely convinced that whatever they throw at him, he can handle.
When you hear things like he's thin-skinned and he's like a man baby, what's the reality of what's going on?
I've never experienced that, and I spent a lot of time with him. I traveled with him now about a month and a half ago for 4 days, and I was surprised at how you can be in a situation 20 years ago and walk away from it and come back and everything is exactly the same. Mm-hmm. It's exactly the same.
So Bill Maher says Trump is beating Biden because he would clean cities. Bill Maher attributed Trump's polling success over Biden to the perception that Trump would take proactive measures to address deteriorating cities. Maher humorously pointed out the temporary nature of San Francisco cleanup efforts, stating, put aside the fact that you can clean up with company coming over. He elaborated when he talks, I'm going to put people in camps, the immigrants, all this kind of stuff, and people just see a place, a country, especially in those cities that look out of control. Donna Brazil and Adam Kinzinger, guests on the Maher Show, concurred with Maher's assessment. Anyways, Brazil emphasized that people clean up when something different happens and raise questions about finding long-term solutions, particularly with homeless individuals. The reality of it is, right now, if this guy comes back and he wins, and Argentina did what they did, Italy had it a couple of years ago, more and more people are just kind of going to leave me alone. I kind of want to build my life. I don't want to be controlled the way I am. If it happens in America, I think this is going to be a very weird, entertaining 4 years if Trump wins. Again, if he wins. It is so early. It's second quarter with, 5 minutes left. It's not even halftime yet. Would you agree? It's second quarter with 5 minutes left.
Yes, and in politics, a week is a lifetime. A week, and things can change very dramatically. Do we have a terrorist attack on American soil against American interests? That would change things.
Let's pray not.
No, obviously, but it's a very real possibility. We have let several,
especially with the open borders,
millions and millions of people into the country that we can't even identify. We know there was 128 people on the FBI's list. How many got through that we didn't catch? So it's going to be a tumultuous 12 months here, and all of those events can change everything.
What's the likelihood that the Democratic Party will just go down with the ship? Like, if you see, because I watched that whole Meet the Press when they did all those stats and everything like that, they had Senator Blumenthal from Connecticut on, and he basically was like, she asked him, Kristen Welker, do you think that Joe Biden is still the best candidate? Yes, I believe that Joe Biden is still the best candidate. So he still has his advocates out there in the Senate who are basically saying, no, he's still our guy. What's the likelihood they're just, that's it? They see all the numbers, they see the polling, and they're like, nope, we're rolling with Biden.
I think it's unlikely. I really do. He's playing the inside game, but he doesn't really believe that. He's just saying it kind of because he has to. But I really think the handwriting's on the wall. I think they recognize if they renominate Biden, there's a high probability they lose. They don't understand the toxic mix they have of rising crime, the fentanyl crisis, the cities all now and states now all being broke because we have to spend for social services for this influx of illegal migrants, mixed messaging in the Middle East where we appear to be on both sides, funding both sides, $100 billion more for Iran. This is a death wish. This is insanity.
Election, when you think about, these guys were able to count 99.4% of all the votes in Argentina, okay? And it took us 40 days, 30 days, whatever the timeline is to vote.
Yeah, weird. Is that weird?
I mean, whether you're left, right, center, doesn't, how the hell did a country like Argentina, how were they able to count as many votes as they did, as quickly as they did, and America can't do it? We are supposed to be the leaders of the free world. How is that possible?
Because it's purposeful. They have paper ballots in France. They counted 38 million votes in one day. It can be done, but it's instructive that no state, certainly none of the swing states, have had any significant reform in their state election laws that will govern the next presidential election since the last presidential election. With the one exception, there was a challenge to mail-in ballots in Pennsylvania as being unconstitutional. They clearly are. I mean, it's very specifically laid out in the Constitution. The lower courts knocked them out. The middle courts sustained the lower courts. The state Supreme Court, which is extremely political, reinstated them. So we're going to have mail-in ballots in Pennsylvania again. In all honesty, I question whether you can win Pennsylvania as a Republican as long as you have mail-in ballots. The Philadelphia machine is pretty famous at their ability to manipulate these. So will we have – there's two questions here. Can Trump win? Yes, he most definitely can win, meaning will there be enough votes to be a majority? But will we have a free, fair, honest, transparent election in which everyone has confidence? I think that's still an open question.
Roger, one more for you, if you don't mind. You've been around politics for better half of 40 years, right? What will a second Trump presidency look like? You have an inside relationship with him. You know what's going on. What would that actually look like for the country?
I think it'll be a pretty radical. It'll be a pretty radical presidency. First of all, Dwight Eisenhower deported 1.3 illegals. We have got to take these people who entered the country illegally, and we have to deport them. It's not unreasonable. They're not.
Has he told you he wants to do that?
He said it publicly. He doesn't need to tell me. I mean, he's announced it.
Well, public statements are different than what he actually tells someone that he actually is friends with.
But he has said it. He would reform, our intelligence agencies. He would certainly reform our law enforcement agencies. He does these long form policy videos, But because they're up on True Social, they don't get the kind of currency that they should get because they're very detailed. They're very well thought out, and his presentation's quite good, but they don't get the kind of attention they deserve. But he's on virtually every issue, he's put out detailed positions. I urge people to watch them.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.